We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
You're kidding.
No.
You've said that the United States has spacecraft, intact craft.
We do.
Do we have bodies? Do we have species of
Well,
non-human?
naturally, when you recover something that's either landed or crashed, sometimes you encounter dead pilots. And believe it or not, as fantastical as that sounds, it's true.
In June 2023, an ex-US intelligence officer named David Grusch did an interview. And in this interview, he made some amazing claims that could be about to change the world.
If you're telling us the truth, everyone, the entire American public, has been lied to for decades.
Yeah, there's a sophisticated disinformation campaign targeting the US populace, which is extremely unethical and immoral.
Maybe start off telling me your name and who you are.
My name is David Grusch. You know, I came from a blue-collar family in Pittsburgh. I didn't have the money for college. Always admired people in uniform. And I've always wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself. You know, 18 years ago, I got an Air Force scholarship for physics. I originally commissioned on active duty in the Air Force. Served 14 years in the Air Force.
I look at this photograph, Dave, and I see a very proud officer.
I was getting promoted to captain when I was deployed.
And you still love your country, don't you?
Absolutely. I was an intel officer for the US for 14 years. My last position, which I left in April of 2023, I co-led the UAP portfolio for the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and some of the highest officials within the Department of Defense and Intelligence community used to call on me to advise them on some of the hardest target sets that the country had.
You are one of the most trusted former intelligence officials in the US defense and intelligence establishment.
Yes, I was.
You were trusted with the most intimate secrets.
Yes.
During his time on the UAP task force, he was told of a crash retrieval program. He wanted to know more, but was denied access.
What conclusion did you come to at the end of your time on the UAP task force?
The UAP task force was refused access to a broad crash retrieval program.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
He also claims that the cover-up is 90 years long, with the first UFO crash retrieval being in Italy, 1933.
1933 was the first recovery in Europe, in Magenta, Italy. They recovered a partially intact vehicle.
It's long been known that the regime of dictator Benito Mussolini documented numerous UAP during this time. This internal memo from the Italian secret services includes crude drawings of the UAPs. It's true, it's real.
Yeah, that actually happened. The Italian government moved it to a secure air base in Italy for the rest of kind of the fascist regime until 1944, 1945, and the Pope Pius XII back-channeled that.
So the Vatican was involved?
Yeah, and told the Americans what the Italians had, and we ended up scooping it.
So let me be very clear about this. You're saying that the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they know about the existence of non-human intelligence on this planet?
Certainly.
Grusch stated that in the summer of 1947, there was another big retrieval operation. When something crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. The Roswell Army Airfield investigated the incident and recovered strange debris which was years later described as not anything of this earth. The Roswell Army Airfield announced to the press that they had captured a flying disc. The story would soon be changed and put in its place a crashed weather balloon explanation. This event would become known as the Roswell Incident.
Ridiculous to me that the US Air Force had changed its story.
Yeah, and they added additional elements over time and tried to conflate additional programs to explain some of the events.
What can you tell me about the Roswell craft?
Fortunately, those details were not approved for me to talk about right now.
In 1994, the Air Force released this report to silence the Roswell conspiracy theories once and for all. This is what Grusch thinks of it.
That analysis I did was a total hack job, and even anybody with analytical skills, if you read it, you can deduce that they're conflating multiple situations with crash test dummies and mogul balloons, and they're just saying that the townsfolk who personally witnessed it were totally imagining things. They concocted that whole report.
The reason for the secrecy exactly is what?
Feudalistic dominance, who can have both asymmetric technology for, it seems like, just fueling the war machine.
Through the 50s and 60s, the encounters continued along with the cover-up. There were many sightings around missile launch facilities, hovering seeming to perform scans. There was an incident in 1967 at Malmstrom Air Base, when a red craft hovered over the front gate of the base and disabled 10 nuclear missiles.
It certainly looks like they want to understand how far we've advanced in our nuclear fizzle kind of technologies at the very least. I mean, it looks like preparatory probing activity. It might be innocent kind of scientific gathering, could be ISR probing.
Grusch said he wouldn't reveal the locations of the downed crafts, but he did reveal the people working with these crafts are at high risk because of the unknowns.
You know, a lot of them, were injured looking at some of this stuff. You can imagine the nuclear, radiological, and biological risk to looking at an unknown, and a lot of them have literally suffered physically because of their service.
Grusch revealed that there's credible witnesses that could testify in Congress that have seen very big football field-sized spacecrafts.
A lot of them were very large, yeah. Like a football field kind of size. And I remember interviewing these personnel. I'm like, either these people are lying to me, they're having a psychotic break, or this is some crazy but true stuff that's happening, and I have no good explanation that's prosaic at all for this, because this is not explainable by, swamp gas, St. Elmo's fire, ball lightning, etc., etc. I mean, this is like tangible technical craft they're seeing up close and personal in some cases when I interviewed people.
Grusch also stated there is at least one aerial space company storing alien craft.
Is that true?
That is how a lot of these relationships are. While I don't want to name the specific companies and government elements, but overall, the government has been the custodian of a lot of this, right? And they'll hand receipt it out to a cleared defense contractor to do some analysis, which I find highly unethical. You have basically a sole source arrangement, and you allow certain private corporate elements to look at this, develop a potential insight, and then sell it back to the government for profit. And I think that's totally unethical.
Not all stories of encounters are positive, so it's no surprise to hear that they don't all end well, even death.
The logical fallacy there is because they're advanced, they're kind. We'll never really understand full intent in that, because we're not them, whatever them is or are. But I think what appears to be malevolent activity has happened, based on not only nuclear site probing activities, witness testimony. I think, at least if we look at it through a humanistic lens, it does appear negative, at least to us.
I've been told that there have been attempts to bring down craft, that we've acted offensively against non-human craft.
There have been instances, and there are certain techniques.
Have human beings been hurt or killed by a non-human intelligence?
While I can't get into the specifics because that would reveal certain U.S. classified operations, I was briefed by a few individuals on the program that there were malevolent events like that.
No, I'm scared. People have just heard you say non-humans may well have murdered human beings.
That seems to be the case at one point, yeah.
For these claims to have been as kept secret as they are for almost a century, the keepers of these secrets would have needed to silence people by any means necessary.
Can I put it to you that crimes must have been committed?
At the very least, I saw substantive evidence that white-collar crime was committed.
Have people been killed to protect this secret?
Based on the people I talked to, that was an ongoing concern. Yeah, unfortunately, I've heard some really un-American things I don't want to repeat right now.
So you have a strong suspicion that people have been murdered to protect this secret?
Over the years, yeah. I don't want fame or fortune. I'm just here to provide public leadership on an issue that I uncovered, and I thought it was totally outrageous.
You're not being paid for this interview?
No, I'm not.
Why are you doing this?
It's a sense of service, you know. Call me a Boy Scout or whatever. It just, when I saw the kind of wrongdoing I did, I don't want to be 60, 70 years old in the future and have that, coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of feeling where I could have made a difference. I did not want to live a life of regret.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
They're here, aren't they?
Mr. Mulder, they've been here for a long, long time.
These claims were gathered over 4 years from 40 witnesses. Not only does it potentially prove that we are not alone, but it does prove the truth is out there.